I am so proud to be here to welcome you to the DeMello International Center for Education and Economic Development. This is indeed an auspicious occasion for many reasons. First of all, as a lifelong New Bedford resident, I have great pride in our city. I don't believe that in today's day and age there are enough people who have an understanding of the rich roots that we share living in this area. There have been hard times. When you go back to the mid-18th century, this city was an economic powerhouse. It was culturally and economically vital. The world knew New Bedford. The world looked up to New Bedford. It was an incredible vision that people in our midst had of all ethnicities. And one of the things that is extremely important at that time was the innovation that happened and the opportunity that happened for everyone. Please understand, it was New Bedford that boasted a Paul Cuffey or a Lewis Templeton. From slave roots, those men were innovative, and in the case of Templeton, he's the one who discovered or created the toggle harpoon that was used all over this world. He also was involved, as Lewis Temple was, and Paul Cuffey, in businesses. These are people prior to the Emancipation Proclamation were business people and were accepted in this diverse community and were accepted with open arms. That is the history of New Bedford. And it is such a pleasure at this point to stand here in this beautiful building in the heart of beautiful historic downtown New Bedford and look around and see what's happening here, to see the changes that are taking place under the tutelage of our mayor, who has done a fantastic job as our 38th mayor, who is concentrating on schools and just hired a terrific new face for our community, someone who's going to be leading great things, and that is right here, Thomas Anderson, our new superintendent. If you'd give him applause, please. Jim DeMello and I have had the opportunity to meet with him, and I'm just excited about his openness and the acumen that he brings to working in an urban setting. This is what we need. We need education, and that leads us to where we are today. This building is a mark of economic development because it is serving as a catalyst. And as I said, in our rich history, we had innovation. We had economic pride and culture, and we had a love of people, a diversity and an openness to people. And here we are again. Jim DeMello is the poster child for this new era that's happening under our terrific mayor, Jon Mitchell. For those of us who know Jimmy and know Jimmy well, we could encapsulate his essence in many ways. So let me be polite. Jimmy is brilliant. He is an educated man. He is an inventor. Somebody moved my Windex. Who moved my Windex? That was my prop. Spray bottles, invented by this man. They're all over the world, invented by this man. He has a host of ideas which he's more than willing to share with you on any given day, whether you like it or not. And Jim serves as such an anchor for those of us who know him, because whether you are a business person, whether you are an elder in the community, or whether you are a child from a poor family, Jim DeMello is a guy who stands up. When I was principal at Lincoln School and I needed a coat for a kid, I had only to call Jim DeMello. When I needed a scholarship for a kid to go to campus, I had only to call Jim DeMello, and it was done. You know, there are people who are philanthropists, but that connotes to me someone who just writes a check. Jim DeMello does much more than write checks. Jim DeMello invests in a very real way. He invests with his time, his energy, his contacts, and his heart. And so today we are celebrating a wonderful economic and educational marriage that is about to take place right here ceremoniously in this DeMello International Center, a center that is the crucible for so many economic and educational initiatives. But this one is the one that we must celebrate as a community, because our little urban kids that are going to be working with this terrific superintendent, these kids are going to be helped through their college opportunities that their teachers are going to have for higher education, and for many of the other initiatives that are going to come out of Rising Tide. So because you, Mayor Mitchell, I'm going to let other people expound about Jim DeMello, but let me say that Mayor Mitchell has been a wonderful eye on the education as the heart of how we move things forward. Jimmy's parents made sure he got a great education, and he also recognizes that every kid needs that opportunity. And so that's why we're partnering with Lesley University with the support, the great support and interest of our mayor. Also what he's doing with the port. And look at downtown. Don't look out that window at the moment, however. You see, somebody who was just making a photo op would have had that cleaned up, but he didn't, because we're really making changes. And just look at the businesses that are thriving in downtown New Bedford. Things are happening here, and now you're going to see the face of Lesley University here, a wonderful, incredibly important university in the state of Massachusetts. So I'm going to want to ask the mayor to come up in 1 minute, but let me take a couple things out of the way first by letting you know some of our dignitaries who are visiting. I'd like to start with Senator Vinnie DiMacedo, our state senator who is here today. Glenda Izaguirre, and I apologize if I'm not doing a good job with the pronunciation, who is representing Congressman Keating. I see Senator Pacheco in the crowd. You didn't write your name down, but I knew you, so welcome. We have, of course, Josh Amaral from the New Bedford School Committee. I see our consul is here, our Portuguese consul. It's very nice to see you, Shelley. Thank you for being here. I've introduced Superintendent Anderson twice, but I'm going to do it a third time. Another individual who will be a very important piece in helping us get to our teachers and do what we can to support them, and that's the president of the New Bedford Educators Association, Lou St. John. And if I may have a personal moment to say, my favorite, the one and the only Sheriff Tom Hodgson. Is there anyone that I'm missing? Elected officials? Okay, I'm going to let the program introduce everyone else that you need to know, with one last exception, this young man. We're here about education today, so it is very fitting that we feature a New Bedford High School former student, Keegan Marshall House. Keegan is now studying at the Berklee School of Music in Boston. He graduated from New Bedford High School, and how wonderful. This young man not only plays, he is just incredible. He's a jazz specialist. That's where he's concentrating his education. And he is also doing composing. So I have no doubt at all that one of these days, in the not too distant future, we will be scrambling to buy tickets, and maybe if you're really nice to him, introduce yourself and give your card now, we'll get a cut rate. But this is a terrific young man, and I really want to thank him for being here today, Keegan. Without further ado, my favorite mayor, Mayor Jon Mitchell.
Thanks, Joanne. So, can you guys hear me? So, Joanne's favorite elected official stopped me as I walked in, and he said, "Hey, you know, Miss Joanne just said something really nice about you." I said, "Is there any chance she could repeat it?" I want to thank Joanne. You can listen to you up here, and you can picture you in front of a group of students and a group of teachers, inspiring them as you did at the Lincoln School for so many years, and it's a reminder for all of us that that's what it takes to educate, right? It takes a little spark, a little bit of a whole lot of perspiration, but a lot of inspiration as well, and that's what we're here for today. And I think you kicked it off appropriately in that way, Joanne. Yes, I am grateful that we're not doing it out there in the middle of a construction project, and there is a lot going on, and it's very timely now that we do this here on Union Street, which in effect is New Bedford's, the downtown's Main Street at least, and because there's a lot happening, stretching from the State Pier all the way up to the West End. The new hotel that just opened up, the filling of this building, and I'll have a few things to say about that as well, and a lot in between. It's really exciting. The co-working space that just opened up a few months ago, all the restaurants, all of it happening. There's a real buzz, and it's really exciting, and it's really exciting to be part of this today. I want to first of all welcome Lesley University to New Bedford. Lesley University has such a tremendous reputation in training teachers, in particular, but training all students at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. But they really stand out as a teacher training institution, a top-notch one nationally. And I know that our superintendent, Thomas Anderson, is excited that they are here. I'm excited. I want to thank and welcome Richard Hansen, the Dean of Graduate Studies at Lesley, and all the officials from Lesley today. I know the president wasn't able to make it today, but I certainly extend my gratitude to him. We are, when it comes to education, and a lot of the business people in the room will certainly appreciate this. More than most enterprises, education, especially public education, is a human capital intensive enterprise. It matters a whole lot, the level of skill, the depth and breadth of skill of the people we put in the classrooms before our children. It matters a whole lot. And in a day and age in which technology is rapidly changing, rapidly evolving, we have to keep our skills up, regardless of occupation. That's just the way of the world these days. Lifelong education matters. It will matter to our competitiveness in Greater New Bedford in every sector, but it will also matter particularly in our school system, and where there's a lot going on. Reform is moving ahead full steam under Superintendent Anderson's leadership, as it has been over the last few years, and part of that effort is to do things in new ways, not just with technology, but also with different ways to teach students, and at every grade level. And so skill development on the part of teachers matters a lot. I know Lou St. John feels this way very strongly. He's been a big proponent of teacher training and skill development all along, but that's what we have to do. That's the business we're in, and that's what I see as the primary benefit of having the resources and the reputation of Lesley right here smack dab in the urban core. Greater New Bedford school districts will benefit enormously from this opportunity. There will be individuals who will be able to advance their careers here for sure, but our school districts will be the primary beneficiaries, because the end result of this will be better teachers. Not that our teachers aren't good already. I'll put our teachers up against any district anywhere. That's just me, the parochial mayor, saying that. But beyond that, giving our folks the opportunities to up their game is really, really important. And I really want to thank this partnership for making that happen. And I want to thank the support, of course, of the public officials here. Our favorite sheriff, he's my favorite elected official as well, Tom Hodgson, for being such a huge supporter of everything that Jim has been doing here, of course. The congressman's office is right here. He can't help but support it, right? I mean, guys, he's got to live in the same building, of course. Rick Kidder, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, of course, a huge proponent of all things education. John Vasconcellos from the Community Foundation. I want to thank both Senators Pacheco and DiMosito for being here today, for your support. It's really important, and we appreciate that. Josh Amaral from our school committee as well, and of course our superintendent. This is really exciting. I reserved my last words for the man who's pulling people together here, and that's my friend Jim DeMello. You know, we talk a lot in the city about the role that business leaders in particular, but leaders of nonprofits and otherwise, not only can play but should play in the overall effort to regenerate cities, right? Mayors and city councils and school committees can only take it so far. Government has its limitations. The cities that thrive in the long runs are ones invariably where business leaders step up and not only offer their ideas, not only help shape a strategic vision for the place, but just as importantly, if not more importantly, are willing to say, I'm willing to step up too. I'm willing to step up too. And I certainly, from my bully pulpit, have tried to preach that. Again, you know, mayors come and go. And that's not a hint at my, you know, whether I'm running again, so don't go there, please. But it's a broader point about the role that the civic sector plays, particularly business leaders. And so in Jim's case, he just set such a fantastic example of a business leader who is willing to put his money where his mouth is. Jim purchased this building a few years ago, I think almost 3 years ago roughly, and said, you know, I'm going to fill this up. This is going to be an anchor of the downtown, which itself is a strategic imperative for the city. This is the urban core of the entire region, and we have to continue to solidify its status as such and build and build and build here, and that's what we're doing. So it is apropos that we're looking out on a construction site for this event. But Jim has delivered. He has filled this building, and not just, and this building was empty, virtually empty, under previous ownership, and he has gone out of his way to put people in here, and sometimes compressing his own margins. And I won't say any more. I won't presume anything, but I know that he has taken some risks. He has taken some risks, and that's what it takes. It takes business leaders to stretch just a little bit, and that's what we're trying to cultivate here. There's a lot of pent-up potential. There's a lot of pent-up capital waiting to invest in New Bedford, but somebody's got to step forward first and take risk. And that's what Jim is doing. Jim is farsighted in this particular effort, and because he knows that the key to our competitiveness, the key to our quality of life is ensuring that we can deliver for our kids, that we can do right by them, that we can throw open the doors of the American dream by making sure that they have a high quality of education for everybody, by the way, for every kid from every background. And that's what he's dedicated himself to. And my wish today is not only for success, big success of this program and the benefits it'll confer to our kids and to our school district, but that this sentiment, this approach to good corporate citizenship, great corporate citizenship, becomes even more contagious in our city and throughout Greater New Bedford. That's my wish for today. And so Jim, I really want to thank you in particular for making that happen. So with all that, I've spoken way too long, but again, thank you for this great partnership, because this will grow, this will succeed, this will be a big part of our city in the years ahead. Thanks, everybody.
Great job. I told you he was wonderful. Told you. One thing that just happened that I didn't occur to me, we have not shared with you the names of the community people who are part of our advisory committee, and that is a very important thing. I think it's important that you see and know who among us are important players in terms of giving us their support and ideas. So thank you, Lesley. We have Steve Beauregard from the Housing Authority, who can't be here today because he's at a funeral, but he is on our advisory council. We have Sherry DeMello. Sherry is the daughter of Jim DeMello. She couldn't be here today, but she is a very important part of that. Jim is on it. We let him be on it. Katie Gilfeather from EAP Outlook on Union Street does a great job. Dr. Jack Gillette, who is the former dean and professor and all-around favorite son of Lesley University. He is part of our advisory committee, and he is also one of the anchor people who began this whole project with Jim DeMello, so he's very important to the efforts going forward. Jim Mathis from Dennison Memorial is part of our committee. Attorney Mike McGlone, who is here somewhere, Michael. He is corporate counsel and he's part of our advisory committee. Amanda McMullen. Amanda, are you here from the Whaling Museum? Hi, Amanda. What a wonderful partner she is in this with all that she has to share from the Whaling Museum. Dr. Jennifer Sarawick. Jennifer. She is an assistant vice president. Actually, I just elevated you. They asked me to tell you. She is, her position is about adult learning, so how appropriate that she be a part of all of this, as well as Valerie Shinnis, who is from the graduate school, one of the deans in the graduate school. So thank you for also your participation. And Leslie Vicente, who is the executive director of Discovery Language Academy, which is a wonderful school that Jim has been responsible for revitalizing and inoculating with vitamin B, and it has come into its own under Leslie's tutelage as the executive director. And we have so many kids learning a second language and learning to read and write and learning about the Portuguese culture here in right in the DeMello building in the heart of downtown New Bedford. And they went from a meager small amount of children to bursting at the seams, and Jim is forever having to add another classroom or another wall or something, but it's happening. And again, through the largesse of Jim and Natalia. So we thank them for that. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Jack Gillette, Dr. Jack Gillette, Dean and former professor and friend. Jack.
Good morning, everybody. I had the wonderful privilege for the last 7 years of being the Dean of the Graduate School of Education at Lesley University, and just retired actually on June 30th. So I'm now moving into a new role where I get to join the advisory group and see this partnership that we worked over the last 3 years to put together to really meet its fruition. And I just want to say a couple of things about why I'm so optimistic about this particular partnership and why I think it's so important to the university and to the community here in New Bedford. One is just there are rare times when partners have completely overlapping visions. And that vision of Lesley University goes all the way back to Edith Lesley, who founded the institution over 100 years ago with the express purpose of creating a pathway for young women to become professionals in the area of early childhood at a time in which there were many, many barriers to women taking professional positions and institutions supporting that work. In the same way, in our current 21st century, we have communities that are longing for opportunities to get educational access. And I mean access to affordable and convenient education that can transform their lives. And at the core of that, both on the part of Jim and his foundation and his center and on Lesley University, is a deep belief in the transformative power of educational opportunities. Educational opportunities that not only provide opportunities for economic advancement, but educational opportunities that develop the kinds of critical citizens that we so desperately need to be able to be part of the civic culture and part of our larger community culture. It has just been an extraordinary coming together of a series of talents. We've had tremendous talent on the side of the International Center, and Joanne and Lesley have been really critically important partners on that. But also, we've been able to put together a terrific team at Lesley University. One of the things that we pride ourselves as a private institution is that we will figure out how to make it happen. So many ideas are out there, but so many folks struggle with making those ideas come to play. There are so many natural systems that just get in the way, whether it is how financial aid is structured, how semesters are structured, how faculty contracts are structured, where people think about their workplace. Yet Lesley University has prided itself on being nimble, innovative, and flexible, and I think you will see the results of that. On the degree completion side, we bring ourselves to where the students are, rather than assuming our students bring themselves to campus. We bring support for students, and one of the great aspects that the DeMello Foundation is providing is a small stipend, which, believe it or not, a few $100s is the barrier to somebody actually continuing their completion, because it is transportation, it is childcare, it is buying the books. Those small dollars mean everything to that person and making that happen. We have such terrific leadership by Jen Sarowick and her team that has been able to build on the partnership we had with Bunker Hill to bring it to Bristol community and to open up a really full degree completion center so folks can gain their BA. And then on the master's side, we're committed with New Bedford Public Schools to build pipelines of teachers that they desperately need, hard to find teacher areas. So we're starting in the area of special education and quickly move to faculty who have a terrific insight as to how to support the development of emerging bilingual learners. Those are areas in which it has been very hard for all districts to find lots and lots of candidates and high quality candidates. And one of the final aspects that I'm most proud of our work is that we expect to be held accountable. And I also know that Jim comes from the world of business, and we are on the same page in that. We say we're going to do something, we do it, we see what the results are, and we get better. And that's the expectation of this partnership. Each step along the way, whether it's a master's program developing new teachers, or whether it's a degree completion program, building a pipeline of kids who can graduate from New Bedford High School and become teachers in their community. That is the goal that we seek to have. It's an exciting time. I'm very happy to continue to play some role in that. And I'm also excited that we're able to have some continuity of leadership in that Rich Hansen, who was my boss as provost, was overseeing every single step of this and is now the incoming president of Lesley University. And I want to invite Rich up to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this is exciting, and this is a time for us to celebrate this partnership. And I want to begin by just thanking the New Bedford community and Mr. DeMello and his group for welcoming Lesley to New Bedford. This is an opportunity that is sort of once in a lifetime for an institution, and this opportunity to create this partnership and to launch this initiative is something that's right in the mission statement for Lesley, and one that all of us and the Lesley team are very proud of. If you think of Lesley, and the mayor talked about it a little bit, I think of two or three things that really call out to me that are important for this partnership. We're a community of scholars, and we're going to bring that activity and that learning and that knowing to this partnership. We are also going to learn, and I have learned a lot from Mr. DeMello and his crew in my few times that I've been able to join the planning group. Time of meetings, how short things are going to be, let's keep moving, just those kind. I'm going to try that in a couple of weeks, so be prepared for my staff. Also, Lesley is committed to helping others. That's in the DNA. Jack talked about it from our founding, and we have a penchant and an ability to tackle sort of tough issues around social justice. And this partnership is all about access and social justice and being able to provide opportunities to area students, young and old, to participate in not only what's going to go on here, but also in their work with Lesley. And most importantly, and just the creativity and the imagination and the thrives in this building. You just feel it when you come in and you have a conversation with Mr. DeMello about the way he's been able to activate this space and to bring people together, and the way he and Jack really made this partnership happen. So it's a tremendous opportunity for Lesley. We welcome the opportunity to participate, and we're going to be strong partners. And I want to just cement the partnership with one small gift to Mr. DeMello. Could you bring it up for me? So if you could come up just for a second. So we have to have some Lesley swag in the conversation. So I expect to see you wearing that when I come down. So we're ready to go. We're ready to partner, and we've got a great team at Lesley that will partner with the team here, and we're ready to launch, and let's get going with it. Thanks.
Thank you. You see how talented a group we have from Lesley. So this is wonderful. We're looking forward to every day to come. At this moment, I would like to call on one of our elected officials to come up who has a deep investment in this project and would like to give a few words. And I believe one of his colleagues is also here. So Senator Macedo and Senator Pacheco, if you would come up.
Now I know why Sheriff Hodgson gets elected. Sorry about that. The Dean of the Portuguese delegation and myself are here because we appreciate what has happened. In regards to Jim DeMello's commitment to education. And we're here to give a citation, but I want to take the opportunity as Senate President Pro Tem to say a few words in regards to Jim and what he has done on behalf of education, and we will follow up with a citation on behalf of the state Senate. So I'm going to turn this over to Senator Pacheco, Senator Pro Tem.
Thank you. Let me just say that this is extraordinary. It really is, because when we look at the partnership that has been developed here between a cutting-edge educational institution, not only here in Massachusetts, but they have ties around the globe in Lesley University. And I think that's probably a good choice for Lesley to pick the DeMello International Center to be housed in here with expansion. Because Jim DeMello, as everybody knows, I first really took a liking to him the first time I heard him laugh. Right? You all get it. He is just an extraordinary individual, entrepreneur, and business leader, and a tremendous philanthropist. He does care about community. He cares about not only the Portuguese American community, but the community at large. And I'm just honored that he invited me to be here today. And when I see what is happening here in New Bedford, and every time I come to New Bedford, not only do I call the mayor, but I also make sure I call my colleague in the Senate, Montigny, because I wanted to make sure he knows I was coming into the community, you know, into his district. And he wanted me to send his best wishes today as well. As many of you know, he's had 2 hip surgeries, and he's in the middle of physical therapy today, so he wasn't able to be here. But the entire delegation, from Tony Cabral to the entire delegation, sends best wishes not only to Lesley, that we know you will be successful because of the work that you have done in the past is self-evident, but also to Jim in terms of this economic development partnership with higher education that takes place here in New Bedford that will branch out from here throughout all of southeastern Massachusetts and meet the needs that need to be met from so many young people and people of all ages that are expanding their educational horizons, and this partnership is going to ensure that those expansions become a reality. So thank you all very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Senate President, thank you so much. And just a little background. A couple years ago, I had the privilege of sitting down with Jim, and he shared this vision that he had in regards to this educational institution and what he wanted to do to help this community. And he shared that he understood that education was the great equalizer. If you had an education, you could be and do anything. And of course, that rang so true to me. I was not born in this country. I was the last of 7 children that came from the Cape Verde Islands. And that was the door that opened up for my entire family to move ahead and be successful in this great nation. And I'm just, when I heard his passion to help others, clearly he's been successful. And I really love this spray bottle thing. That's pretty cool. I had no idea. But did they move your prop? That's vision. And to have to look and try to find, and we know his success in so many other avenues, but to have that vision to say, I want to pour into the next generation so that they will have the things that I was able to have. And so to that extent, I was so moved by the vision and the desire to help people in this New Bedford area. I just remember many years ago, and I grew up in the Plymouth area, but my grandfather was in the shipping business and came back and forth. And I remember this card that he had, the U.S. Coast Guard. Of course, he was a Cape Verdean resident. But it said, and the address on it was New Bedford, and I forget the name of the exact street on it, but in New Bedford. But for us, New Bedford was the gateway to America, the gateway to the American dream. And I know that for so many people, and I know that for Jim and I, that was just like, this is where, for me, this is where the American dream began. And so to that, I just want to thank you for your commitment. And so on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate official citation says, come on up, Jim. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to James DeMello in recognition of your service to the greater New Bedford area and working to ensure accessibility, affordability, and high-quality educational opportunities in your community. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its very best wishes for continued success, and that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy therefore transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate, signed by the President of the Senate, Senator Karen E. Spilka, attested to by William F. Welsh, and offered by Senate President Pro Tem Mark Pacheco, and offered by Veriato M. Di Macedo. Yeah, not your state senator, but the state senator from the Plymouth Barnstable. Congratulations, and thank you for all you do. You want a shot?
At this point in the program, I would like to introduce to you someone that you may already know as being, again, the director of the Discovery Language Academy. She is going to say some words about you-know-who personally, so this should be interesting. Lesley Vicente.
No, I didn't touch your bottle. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, very good. I'm the other Lesley, by the way. First of all, before I start about Jim, I really want to recognize someone who did all this work I was hiding in my office all day yesterday, trying to stay out of her way, but it was Joanne Hodson that put this event together, and I think she did a fabulous job. Okay, Jim has given me 20 seconds. Unfortunately, for this one time, he's not going to get his way. Okay, it is very difficult to introduce Mr. James DeMello, affectionately called by all of us Jimmy. It is also hard to capture the essence of this towering of a man, literally and figuratively, particularly given my size. Thus, I decided to tell a couple of stories as a way of introducing him. Don't worry, Jim, it's not those stories. I'm convinced that Jeff Bezos from Amazon stole Jimmy's idea for the invention of Alexa. Every day, he comes into our offices with a long list of things to do. He probably has it in his pocket right now. As Joanne and I try to talk some sense into him as why what he wants cannot be done, he pretends to listen, and as he is leaving, he turns around and states, "Get it done." By lunchtime, he checks in again with part 2 of the to-do list. We come up with all kinds of rationale, but to no avail. Jimmy's last words are always, "Get it done." Looking back, even when we resisted, the bulk of his requests got done. And don't ask me how, but miraculously it happened. It is his loving persistence, his outsized heart, and his vision for equalizing the playing field for all that describes Jimmy, the man that we all love. As most of you know, Jimmy could have chosen to be playing golf in the best elite country clubs, rubbing elbows with who is who in the area, and accumulating his wealth that he knows he cannot take with him, given caixões não têm gavetas, which means coffins have no drawers. Up until now. He may. Instead, for Jim, his country club is the DeMello International Center and his immigrant community. Through his vision, Jimmy insisted, fought, and persevered to bring a high-quality university to the DeMello International Center to address the skill gaps in the greater New Bedford area. He is a firm believer that there will be no economic development without first the development of a great educational system. Jimmy also firmly believes that the usual university models of access, diversity, and opportunities look good on a greatly designed flyer, but can easily turn into academic verbiage of what he calls blah, blah, blah. That is, equal opportunity to unequal structures never lead to equality. By the same token, academic access without the means to pay for the excessive costs charged by universities for most residents of the South Coast is a figment of our imagination. I'm almost done, Jim. Given Jimmy's generosity of heart, his commitment to give back to the community of his parents and grandparents, Jimmy, unlike many academics who just talk, 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 he put his money where his mouth is. Through a well-designed collaboration with Lesley University and the New Bedford Public Schools, Jimmy and his colleagues developed a far-reaching model grounded on accessibility, backed up by an endowment that guarantees that access means exactly that. Affordability, by making sure that Lesley University will always underprice competing existing institutions of higher education, and high-quality education, because Jimmy believes that human capacity and high-quality education means that it is not a monopoly for the rich only, but to students in poverty who did not ask to be born in poor. To this end, and through Jimmy's coherence, vision, and compassion, we are proud to announce that we now have a strong collaboration between DeMello International Center and Lesley University that has given rise to the Rising Tide Educational Initiative, an university granting program that guarantees that finally education in the South Coast will be democratized so as to guarantee both educational and economic quality and parity for all groups. I will end by humbly saying that Jimmy's vision of education and economic development was best captured by the former president of Mills College, Alicia DeCordeau, who after visiting us at the DeMello International Center a couple of weeks ago remarked, "This is an exceptional model of higher education that will be copied by all universities that want to remain relevant, competitive, and diverse." Thank you, Mr. James DeMello.
First, let me start by saying a couple of things. One is welcome to the DeMello International Center. And then in the words of the great Jack Benny, he said, I'm not deserving of this, but I also wasn't deserving of arthritis, so I accept it graciously. This concept was initiated about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, where we began putting together a model that would be able to take and raise the educational level of children all the way through higher education, master's, and future doctor programs. That's the concept. So I'm a great believer that you eat a pie one slice at a time. So the thought process was we started with the Discovery Language Academy. We started to bring it forward now to go up into the higher education sector. When I was in a different life, I ran a company called the Kushner Rubber Company, and we had 1,400 people, and my goal was economic development. Well, I certainly learned shortly thereafter, as taking over the Economic Development Commission here for the city, that the way you're going to get that isn't by bringing companies in and showering them with gifts and talking about TIFs or anything else. You got to do it, okay, with skill. You've got to raise the skill level of this community if we're going to be successful and be back to where we were back in the whaling days. And I think that's the key. And how are you going to get skill raised? I started thinking about it, and I said, well, you're going to do it through education. Well, if you're going to do it through education, how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to do it through teaching. If you're going to do it with teachers, okay, then you can reach down to the children of the future and force them all the way back up, which will bring automatically economic development. And that's the basic vision and the concept. I apologize for having taken over 2 years to get it to this point, okay, but this is the next phase. We're planning on starting with approximately 28 students come January in both programs, the master's and the bachelor's program. Our plan is for a year from then, we will be into an international exchange program. And if everything goes well, that's the plan. And so, on behalf of myself, specifically to the mayor, without his effort and the city's cooperation, we could never have put this together. And we give you a very special thanks and want you to continue to be partners with us as we go forward into the next phase and the phase thereafter. And so without further ado, I would like to just get some recognition for some of the other academic and educational pieces we have in this building. Specifically, we have right above us here the Hair in Motion Cosmetology Academy, which is teaching students to get into the cosmetology field, to become hairdressers, barbers, etc., masseuses, nail technicians, I'm told, and I don't know how many other things they can do to you, but they supposedly can do that for you up there. The Discovery Language Academy, of course, is my pet project, and we originally were trying to train immigrants who would come to this country how to speak English so that they could integrate. Well, we've reversed that now because generations have passed, and now the problem isn't to bring immigrants in that speak only a foreign language and teach them English. Now it's to teach English, the people who speak English fluently about their culture and about their past and how to get a second language into their vocabulary. And I think that becomes a major advantage as you go forward in economic development, because now you have an additional skill base. So without further ado, I'd just like to say thank you for all attending, and don't forget that this is just the start, and the real task is to make this go come the beginning of the year. So thank you all for coming.
At this time, if you would bring the ribbon over, and if I could ask you, Rich, to please step up, and Natalia Bento, who is Jim's life partner and love. And we'll do it down here, I think. Step down.
Do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Well done.
And I'd like you all to stay right where you are, because we need lots of photo ops here with these folks. And with the rest of you, please help yourselves to a glass of champagne and strawberries. Celebrate this momentous occasion. Keegan will be playing for us, and we hope you'll stay and talk and mingle a little bit. Thank you so much for coming today.